Hello and welcome to the Community Voice. I'm Fara Sax. Joining me today is Chairman of Miami-Dade Area 11 Community Council, Cristhian Mancera Mejía. I hope I did it okay.
You
As
did,
a gringa,
indeed, yeah.
You know, I'm a gringa. It's like a little harder for me. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
West Kendall, everything West Kendall. West Kendall in the news right now, the next 30 minutes. Let's break it down, what's going on, its identity, how you got to be where you were, and where we're going in for the future for Kendall.
No problem. Let's make it happen.
Thank you. Talk about a little bit about, for our audience, the community council, what its job is. They might not fully understand what you do on a day-to-day basis because you have a real job too.
Correct. Yeah.
You wear like Superman costume, right?
That is true. Almost Superman and Bruce Wayne, but it's all good.
Okay. All right. I like that. That's good because it's very important to be really the ability to pivot and to move and to deal with your community and wear so many hats. So tell us the role that you perform as this, and this is your second rodeo.
True. The importance of the community council, it plays a great role in areas that are not incorporated into Miami-Dade County. As everybody knows, we have about 34 municipalities in Miami-Dade County. We have 13 districts, being District 11 one of those that is not incorporated, meaning that we have no municipality. We have a commissioner and we have the community council. And those community councils were built primarily to have a direct communication with the community where the community wanted to be heard. And that's why they were created. And especially in areas where we have Area 11 or District 11, District 10, District 8, areas that are not incorporated, they serve a great purpose because people are able to go to these community council hearings and they're able to say, hey, I don't want this, developing project to happen because I, go out with my children every day at the park. There's a lot of dust that will come from this construction. And sometimes these are genuine concerns, but sometimes it takes just to generate that representation, to have the community there present, the developer, and other aspects where we not only make decisions that do impact the community, but also the advisory role that we have when it comes down to advising commissioners, especially in those areas that are not incorporated, about things that have to do with traffic, security, also how the community is being developed, things that do happen that commissioners do manage because they do manage the resources of the area. But it's very important the role the community council plays, and most people are not aware that we exist, especially because most people are more concerned about national politics, president, Congress. But those guys at the community council and the commissioners are the ones that really impact our community. So the community council is very important, especially in areas like Area 11 or District 11.
It's interesting that you should say that because, yes, we want to know about the politics that's going on nationally, but where we live, our background, our backyards are really what affects our day-to-day life. It's getting in and out of our city or a community that really motivates and really affects us most. And what's that like to have people that are in the community, their participation? How important is that for what you're doing?
Well, I've always been like a promoter of community first values. That means that people should have the ability to communicate with their local representatives, starting with the community council. People should be aware who is their local representative and also who is their commissioner. This allows people to be more involved in the decision-making process. And let's just set up an example. You have a home that you bought for, let's say, $500,000 or $1 million in our community. And then there's an open lot next to it. And then one day to the next, someone decides to sell that lot. And then there's a development that will come. And that will impact your home, whether the value of the house, maybe they're going to open a shopping center, maybe they're going to open a gas station. And then these are genuine concerns of the community, and that's what the community council is there to represent, listen, and make decisions that will protect those community members. Maybe not only the owner of the home, but sometimes we do have decisions that do impact our business owners, our entrepreneurs, because sometimes the developer project will impact jobs, will generate production, generation of jobs within our community. So it's not always a scenario where we're voting against developers, because it's not the case. We're always voting in the best interest of the community, and that's why community first is very important. That's why it's so connected to the community council and what we do, because we are that voice. So it does play a very important role, especially in areas like West Kendall, where you have farmland. And some of you guys that have been living here for a long time that are watching this program, Before, like West Kendall or Kendall went until 127th Avenue Southwest, and it began to stretch to 137, and then it went all the way to Chrome, and the farmlands are being pushed and pushed and pushed, and it is a developing area, and we see that, but we also have to take care of the environment. We also have to take care of our green areas, parks. So it's a challenge because we do want to develop Miami-Dade County. I do believe that Kendall and West Kendall are the future of Miami-Dade County, but it's how we do it and how we involve the community in getting that process done correctly.
So, as Batman,
correct, as Bruce Wayne.
you're an attorney.
Yes.
Why are you doing this? What motivated you to want to get out from what you were doing to being an active participant in a community?
Well, since I was a kid, when I was in New York, I was raised in New York, and I remember that.
Where'd you grow up in New York?
I grew up in Kew Gardens in Queens.
Me too. I grew up in Queens. Hey,
you see?
Yay.
And then I lived in Long Island for a while, but I ran back then for school president, and I've always had that vocation of service, like being happy serving, getting involved. And I was always the guy in school that my peers would say, "Hey, let Chris do it," because he's always helping. I wasn't an annoying student, but I was always involved in activities. And one thing that changed my vision of community service was we were back then in New York. We were receiving a lot of Chinese and Russian students because the Berlin Wall had fallen. So we had a lot of intakes of students that spoke no English. So we were being paired with these students, and we were helping them adapt, learn the language, and so forth. And then it was great to see that progress or that process back then. And just having the kid that spoke no English, then after 2 or 3 months speaking English with you and then becoming your pal, that was amazing. So since then, I've had that vocation of service, being involved with the community. And when I got here to Kendall in 2008, I kind of took it upon myself. I began to see, why does everybody go to Miami Beach? We need more stuff here, more fun activities, here in West Kendall or Kendall. So I kind of took it upon myself to promote the area once I got elected, because I said, we need to promote this area much more, because it's almost like a jewel that is hidden, and we need to promote it a little bit better. And that's been part of my objective, promoting and doing things. And my activity as an attorney also deals with a lot of issues related to family law, commercial law, especially for Colombian and Venezuelan migrants, because a lot of them cannot go back to the country for a variety of reasons. So I take care of those legal services. And in learning those stories and learning how these people come here, they migrate, then they open businesses, they become productive individuals within our community. So it's giving me the opportunity to also be very much engaged in the realities of people who have come here, settled here, opened businesses here, and helped us develop our county. So it's a two-way street where you are in the process of helping people legally. You're learning the day-to-day realities of these folks, and then you become much more involved in the community because you want to say, hey, I really want to make this happen for a lot of more people that are going to be coming here legally and growing in our community. Beautiful.
And then the craziest thing is, I feel like we're the child that got left out in Kendall. Incorporated here, incorporated there.
Correct.
Incorporated everywhere you go. And then it's, what happened? What happened when we could have incorporated in Kendall and all these other cities did? Tell me, we'll take it from there because it's your story.
First of all, our area provides a lot of income in terms of taxes to our county. So I think that in the end, there was a lot of hesitation from peers at the county to make the final decision to go forward with the incorporation, because they understood that most of these taxes or money from taxes would be staying in the area. So it is a challenge to convince not only the community, but also peers at the Miami-Dade County Commission that this is something that would benefit Miami-Dade County and not the opposite. And we see it. You can pay attention to some of the roads, some of the challenges, for example, that even Commissioner Gonzalez has faced, because you come and you see a district that probably was abandoned for a long time. There were other priorities, and changing the face of the district, improving parks, which I would love to do in the future, in making possible, for example, for our young talent in Kendall and West Kendall to have some type of, rotunda or a place where they can go, have concerts, invite the community. Hey, we're going to have a community concert, I don't know, in Westwood Lakes Community Park. There's space there to build like a theater or community center that hosts like that type of scenario. But it hasn't been done because those priorities have not been set. And I think that should be a priority for the county, that if we're not going to be incorporated, at least we should be able to have those areas where our community feels like, hey, it's Friday night. Let's go to the local park. There's an activity there. Let's go chill. Let's have some fun. And then you invite the community, and then the community begins to feel more that sense of belonging, because you're not just sleeping at home. You're just not living in an area because you want to like live there, blah, blah, blah. But you also say, hey, it's Friday, it's Saturday. Let's go to the local activity here. I don't know, in Tropical Park, or we go somewhere, Tamiami Park, I'm sorry. And then you have a more involved community.
Absolutely. Out of the zip code of 33186, 33183, then you have more of a community feel.
Yeah,
And
I mean, you have
it's like an identity crisis, I feel, that Kendall has.
True.
Because I remember growing up, well, not really growing up, when I was a young adult, Town and Country Mall, the Palms,
correct,
now, was fields. 137th until recently, between Kendall and 104th, were fields.
Correct.
And now we have this affordable housing. How affordable is it? It's not.
It's
we
not
have
really.
Baptist coming on.
Correct.
Okay, but they killed that identity of being an agricultural beauty of jewels of going strawberry picking and bringing kids and families, and that gathering is so important when kids were growing up. Now what? We've missed that. We
missed that, and we are definitely transitioning, because unfortunately, as the county grows, we still need to build affordable housing that like satisfies every need in every market. But we also have to consider the well-being of our community, and community is just not building a home. Community is building the home, the entertainment centers, which involve parks, involves like people having the ability to work and not have to drive like 2 hours away from those areas where they live, and that would be beneficial. So if you're not going to facilitate the scenario for incorporation, then there has to be a plan in play that involves not only the commissioner or the community council of that area, but involves all the other commissioners. Because one of the challenges that we have in Miami-Dade County is that the other commissioners, they're not involved in West Kendall or Kendall. They don't know the realities of our, community. So sometimes it's difficult to sell the idea, hey, we need to build the expansion, for example, of 836. It's not an issue of like that we want to destroy the area, but we need to be realistic that we need another area, like a road for people to leave. Either you go through the turnpike, you go to 826, you drive south east in this case, or you go all the way to the west and then you take 836. This would be a great scenario, but it hasn't happened. It was stopped. Well, it was stopped because of environmental concerns that the road would impact like environmental areas or like green areas, also farmland. But I think that is something that should be pushed, responsibly, have the discussions, talk to the community and see how that would benefit, because then that would bring more development to areas like West Kendall, and people would not see it as if, oh, we're going to have a party at Kendall. We're going to have a meeting in Kendall. But it's too far. Oh, traffic. I don't want to be stuck in a 2-hour traffic, back and forth. So those are challenges that we need to think for the future, so that when people talk about Kendall or West Kendall, they're going to say, yeah, I want to go there because there's a great, barbecue rib restaurant.
And it's easy in and easy out.
Correct.
So the infrastructure is not there.
It's not.
And then we have construction, and we have a lot of construction, which adds to more congestion, which means the roads and everything that goes along with
just imagine
that. It's very haphazard.
Correct. Imagine we have a few quarters. We have 152nd Southwest. We have 120th. We also have 128th in Southwest. Then we go to Killian. Then we go to Kendall Drive. Then we got 72nd. Then we got Miller. Then we got Bird Road. Those are corridors. But unfortunately, the real exit corridors is Kendall Drive, and then you have 152nd, because the other ones are impacted by school zones. So they're really not corridors. They're only corridors when the school zones are not, in place. So those are challenges that we face, because when we have so many people living in these areas and they want to go and work, there's no way to get out. You only have to use the same congested roads that we have, and there's no vision to either make them better or have a different corridor. And that's where we need to have better planning so that people actually are more focused in saying, hey, I want to go to Kendall because there's options there. Like, we want to develop that area, but we haven't had that vision, unfortunately.
What happens on your end? How do you present to the council saying all these things? I mean, we can go on. I'm going to go on with you, but how is that accepted? How is that seen? Because if you're living in one of those incorporated areas, yeah, you're going to get first dib, and everybody knows the identity of that particular incorporated city.
But I'll answer the question with an example, which happened last year. We brought delegation from Colombia, from Cali. We brought the governor with a bunch of businesses from the touristic sector, food industry, because I wanted to connect them with our local businesses. And then initially the idea, I said, well, we really don't have a place that we can hold the event, because we really don't. We have libraries, but not big enough to have this type of setting. And then someone suggested, well, let's do it in Doral. I said, yeah, but Doral is not West Kendall, and I want to promote West Kendall, so it's really not an option. So we finally found Miami-Dade College, and the Miami-Dade College in Kendall. We had a great scenario there. Still, some people complained that
people always complain. Yeah. You know that people always complain.
But they were complaining about that it was all the way down in Kendall. And somebody asked me, why would you do it there? I said, well, because it's right there. You just take the Turnpike or Killian, and you take 874, and you can leave. It was a great way to do the event. But what I took from that event was that most of these people that came had no idea West Kendall existed, or they were, and where is Kendall? And what is West Kendall? And I was able to do the job of explaining, hey, we have a bunch of people here. We have a lot of businesses that will benefit from this relationship. And we had a really good turnout of people. But my priority has been that precisely, to promote West Kendall and Kendall. But obviously, I am not the commissioner of the area. But that doesn't mean that we cannot still do the job, which is promoting the area and making sure that people begin to say, West Kendall, Kendall. And then you begin to bombard people with that name over and over and over until people say, well, let's go and see what this guy is talking about. And this is really what the objective has been, like making sure that people, for my role at the community council, that's my role. Direct representation, making sure the community is heard, but also making sure that local businesses and entrepreneurs are seen, and maybe they can connect. And that's my role. Nobody's gonna do it, but I have taken it upon myself to really showcase Kendall and West Kendall.
Tell me about some of the important businesses. Who's in Kendall that you?
Well, we have
such a cultural diversity.
Yeah, but we have restaurants that are like nightclubs at night that have really good entertainment options. We have Argentinian steakhouses. We have Italian restaurants. We have great pizza in West Kendall, by the way, and great restaurants that offer great pizza. We also have karate, all kinds of martial arts schools in our area, especially around 157th Avenue with Kendall Drive. We have a bunch of things that people can do. Barbecue places. We have a very good one in 124th and Kendall Drive, if I'm not mistaken, where the Kendall Pavilion is at. You name it, and you have burger places around Tamiami Airport. You have, all kinds of options. And then we cannot forget to mention that we have an airport. And by the way, I do commend Commissioner Gonzalez that he has shed light on that airport, because that's a huge resource, and it's completely, it is used, but why not pay attention to that? That's my point. You see,
you can have a concert right out there.
Yeah. You can do so many things, but the thing is that it's not prioritized, because we're always thinking, let's go to Miami Beach, and it's okay. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying we also have options in West Kendall and Kendall that would definitely bring revenue and money to the county. So it's just a way, open your eyes, open your horizon, and we can do a lot of things also here in West State.
Getting back into fire rescue, emergency response, how is Kendall dealing with this increased density of population, and are they able to meet the needs that might be going on
Well, I am
during these
sure that the sheriff's office and the fire department, they're working, to make sure that those needs are met. But I think that as time passes by, especially in areas like Kendall and West Kendall, the need for growth and injection of resources in these departments will definitely affect these communities, because as it grows, then you have other issues that come up. You have obviously human trafficking issues. You have drug distribution, which is not a huge problem, but it does happen at a very minor scale. But as population grows, sometimes if it's not applied in time as preventive measures, then issues can arise. So I think as Kendall and West Kendall grow, we will have to consider at some point talking about incorporation, and not as something that it's like, oh, it's the end of the world, but as a local discussion with community leaders about, is it really what we want and what is the most convenient thing, and not see it as something as, apprehensively like, oh, I don't want to talk about incorporation. Because when we had Commissioner Zapata, this was an initiative that was set forth. It was almost approved. FIU did the study that, West End was a possibility, and unfortunately it did not go through, because then Commissioner Martinez, killed that idea. And people have different visions, but I do believe that the community has to have the ability to meet, socialize the topic, understand the data. I mean, the data will definitely tell us if it's really viable or not. I'm a really data guy. So if the data tells us that we should do it because the numbers are there, then why not? It will benefit the community.
Where we are right now between us girls. Do you think it's a good time to incorporate? Where
I believe
do you stand
so.
on that?
I believe that, and I when I ran for commissioner in 2020, I was firm on the fact that we should think about incorporation, but I always thought not as an imposition of my individual vision for Kendall or West Kendall. In this case, West Kendall, it was more my vision that we should involve the community in having an open discussion as to whether we should continue with that West End project, finalize it, socialize it, and put it to a vote. Have the community vote on it. If the community feels like it's the right time, let's do it. But I do believe the numbers in terms of density and how things are growing out west, we should at some point have that conversation in the future, years to come.
And on 120th, there's a preserve there that's been allotted, and you can't touch that. You can't go north and south. You can go north and south, but you can't touch.
This is where the Catholic Church is. With the
137th.
Correct.
Right, not too far from Tamiami.
Correct.
Here we are, Calusa. It's been in the news. It's been up for discussion. It's been up and down. Where are we now on this?
Well, Calusa, this is District 7, Raquel Regalado's district. They have had their own discussions, their own issues related to that. Unfortunately, that item never went before the community council because it's a item that was dealt by the county commission. But I do believe that, as I mentioned before, in the same case of incorporation, you have to involve the community in those conversations. And, it's not about being against development or being against developers, building a condominium that will not only generate jobs, but also bring, more housing to the community. It's how you do it, how you actually hear those concerns, and eventually, okay, so if we're going to build, what is the option to resolve the issue for these folks that live in that community to come in and to come out? If you can propose a solution that will satisfy the community that's already there and how they're going to get out of their communities and come in a safe and comfortable way, then people will begin to feel more comfortable about the project. But it's just not about saying, well, we bought the land, we're going to generate the development, whether you like it or not, is going to happen. And then people are forced to get together, sue those projects to impede them from happening. And I think that's the wrong path, because you always have to have this communication with the community. So right now they're still in court, they're still debating whether that is going to happen or not. But at the end of the day, it's there. My personal opinion, community involvement, it's different from just saying, hey, what do you think? No, like, what do you think? What's the information that you have? Why is it that you really don't want it? I always tell the community when we meet at the community council, why is it that you don't want the project to go up? Oh, I just don't want it. No. Like, you have to give me a reason that it's based on fact, on numbers, data that supports that claim. And then when people really understand what's at stake, that it's just not you saying, I don't want this to happen. I don't want it to happen because it will impact me this way, and I want a different resolution. And then the county can get involved and other leaders can get involved. But Calusa is a complicated topic. because
Yeah.
you have, a community that's been there for a while. This area is also a reserve. It affects so many aspects of community life. So it's just not saying, well, we're going to build it anyway. So it's more complex than
And
that.
then the golf course closed long ago, so there we go. We have more. What are we going to do with this land, kind of thing? Let's do something.
Correct.
Let's pivot.
Go
Code
ahead.
enforcement, crackdown, illegal housing, efficiencies. What's going on with that? How are we doing in Kendall with that?
Well, there's a lot of it going on. I mean, we saw it in the last 4 years and the increment in pricing. I think one of the things that we have seen so far is that a lot of community members have left, the county and the country due to the immigration crackdown, and that definitely has brought these scenarios. Improve it in a way in which people do not abuse pricing. People do not abuse taking a small bedroom and turning it into an apartment with no authorization, and then having a full family of 4 living inside these premises. It's complicated. I think the county has done a lot to prevent that from happening, but still, the enforcement is complicated when you have a homeowner who doesn't go through the process. And I should remind those homeowners that if and so one day happens that the county finds out that you're doing that without authorization, it can mean that you can lose your home if you are, sued, or, you have to face damages because you have either affected someone that is living there, you have made changes to the home that you were not supposed to make, and it's a whole drama. So I would suggest people to go through the right process.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Be kind to each other.
True, but also not to abuse pricing. Because I've saw a small, room that a few years would cost like $500, costing $1,500 from one day to the next. Obviously, we had an intake of almost 400,000 people that came during the last administration. So I understand that this was a challenge, but then there was no oversight also in protecting people from that spike in pricing, which I think was an abuse that was committed during that time and still going on in some areas.
Do we have overdevelopment? Are we right about now? Can we use more?
Well, I think that in area 11, West Kendall,
Yes, that's what we're talking.
eventually we will have to consider viewing the area not just as a farmland, not just as a place to sleep and then wake up early in the morning and go to work. We will have to make an understanding that the county will be developing and how we're going to approach those challenges, because it is moving west, and as we move west, we do have to consider how are we going to develop the areas. And we cannot eradicate the farmland, we cannot eradicate green areas that support our health and environment, but at the same time we cannot stop development from happening. So I think the view has to change. We have to be more open-minded. We have to involve all the factors, environmental concerns, also the community doesn't want areas to be overdeveloped, but at the same time we also need to develop certain areas within West Kendall. For example, we don't have office buildings that can provide, if you have an attorney, you have a doctor that wants to rent a suite, and we don't have those options. We have very few buildings that offer that. We have a section around the Tamiami Airport that offers warehouses, but that's not really
Small.
fitting for every single need. And so what is it that people do? They go to Coral Gables.
And there's an
Little
airport
Havana.
right there.
Yeah.
They can, from out of town, they can go fly right into
Correct.
Tamiami Airport.
So there's a lot of options to develop West Kendall. We just have to look at it from a different
Got it.
perspective.
And schools, how are they doing now that we're developing new places to live for folks? And
Well, that has to be a priority still. There's a lot of great schools in West Kendall. People are happy with these schools, but more funding is needed also, that we are able to keep these areas the way they are, so that schools don't get out of control and that people have to take their children from the public school into the private sector, which I have nothing against. But then we cannot allow schools that have been around for a while to go down simply because we're just not providing the right funding, or that people are moving from the public sector to the private, charter schools, which is, like I said, I have nothing against that, but we do have to protect, access to public education.
Superman, how do we get the community involved? What are the next steps that people that are watching today, that are living in West Kendall, that want to do something, that they're motivated by our interview today, and they want to see change and to be a positive force?
Well, the first thing I think I would realize is that you have to understand who's your commissioner, who are your community council board members. Talk to them, engage them, meet with them, have conversations about the feeling that you have about the community, because it's not only the commissioner that plays a role, because like he or she, they are at a level of the county that sometimes they may not have the time to really connect with the community. That's why community councils exist. And if you're able to connect with these local leaders, then you're able to be more involved. And the more involved you become, then you have a say in what's going to be happening. Like, it's not something that we should forget. And I know that we sometimes have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and it's difficult to keep pace, with all the changes, but that's the point. Community representation, local representation means that you have to be there, making sure with the oversight, community oversight, what's going on, why is this going to be built, I don't feel happy, having the conversation. There's a lot of development that is going on in that Kendall Drive area, especially out west of Kendall Drive, and people are concerned because there are not options in those areas. You only got Chrome. If it's not Chrome, it's the Turnpike. If it's not the Turnpike, you have to drive all the way down to 826 Dayland to leave the area. So people are concerned, what are we going to do when we have more development? What are the roads going to be like? So public transportation comes into play. So a lot of questions. So if you want all those questions to be resolved, participate, engage your local representative, and be part of the conversation. Because sometimes I believe that people are so disgusted with politics that they believe that politics is just like the same thing. And I think that it's not the case. There's a lot of local leaders here in Miami-Dade County that do the work. They take time, they sacrifice time of their own family to be with the community. So engage those leaders and make sure that you have, a voice with them.
And you want to leave parting words of where they can reach out to either you, the commission, or the commission itself? So
you can communicate through my social media account, which is on Instagram, Mancera Mejía. This is Mancera Mejia. And we can communicate there, talk, my information is there. But go to the meetings. I mean, we have monthly meetings at the community council. You can meet all the board members there and you can engage all of them. And you can also, hit up your commissioner, your county commissioner, and, talk to him or her and get involved, especially areas that are not incorporated. You should always have like a little list. Who's my commissioner? Who are my board members? And then you're able to have a closer relationship. And you can connect with me, Cristhian Mancera. I'm on Instagram, Mancera Mejía, also on Facebook. And, I'm here for everybody. And if you want to talk and, share your concern for the community, I'm always open to listen to your concerns.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. This time we could do. I have pages and pages of copious
notes. A lot of stuff to talk.
We'll have to have you back. And I want to thank you for joining me. I'm Fara Sax. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great day.